Welcome to The Critique. Today we're looking at an excerpt from The Forest That Remembers Your Name, which is a guided relaxation story for sleep.
And we're just going to jump right in because this piece has such a powerful core concept. The relaxation imagery is really evocative, but it's the unique hook that stands out.
Right, that central promise. The idea that the forest remembers you, the sound of your footsteps, your heartbeat.
Exactly. And that's where we're going to start. The material makes this really powerful promise at the very beginning, but it needs to fully integrate that memory mechanism into the actual sensory experience to really maximize the hook's impact.
Yeah, that promise is what sets it apart, you know? It's not just a generic forest. It's a place that's conscious, that's responsive.
Precisely. The core idea is that this forest doesn't just exist, it knows you. But the weakness here is that after that amazing opening statement, the journey itself becomes, well, a little generic.
Still beautiful, though.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. Things like the ground beneath you is warm, or a leaf falls beside you. Lovely images.
But they don't fulfill that initial promise of remembrance, do they? It feels like that really unique concept starts to fade into the background, and you're left with a sort of standard nature script. That personal touch gets a bit lost.
Exactly. The listener needs that constant, gentle confirmation that the memory is active. So, the suggestion for improvement here is to actively demonstrate the forest's memory. Make the environment react specifically and personally to the listener.
In subtle ways, I assume?
Oh, in very subtle ways, throughout the walk and the rest phases. We need to turn that passive description into a personalized interaction.
I think that's so important for a sleep story. That personalization creates a deeper sense of safety, doesn't it? If the forest is actively confirming I'm here and it knows what I need, I'm going to feel much less anxious.
You are. So how do we do that? How do we make the memory show up in the sensory cues?
Okay, yeah, give me an example.
Well, the script currently says the leaves rustle almost like they're whispering hello. It's nice. It's fine.
But it's generic.
It's generic. To pay off that memory promise, you could personalize it. What if the leaves rustle in time with the listener's slowing breath?
Oh, that's good.
It confirms the forest actually heard their rhythm. The rhythm it remembers.
That's a really subtle but profound shift. The sound isn't just a sound anymore. It's a confirmation that my body is setting the pace for the whole world around me.
Exactly. And we can do it again when the listener finds the clearing. The script says, you feel safer than you felt in a long time.
Which is a good line.
It's a good line, but we can link that feeling of safety directly back to the memory. So instead of just a general feeling, what if the warmth of the earth is rising to meet them exactly as it knew you would need it to be?
Maybe even add a warmth tailored to your quiet longing for peace.
So you're making the earth's response a direct answer to a remembered need.
That turns a description of warmth into an active, nurturing act. I love that. It really elevates the whole thing from passive observation to active security.
It becomes a feedback loop. I came here for peace, and the forest, because it remembers me, has prepared the perfect place for me.
Okay, so let's move on to our second critique. This is more about structure, about how the listener actually moves through this space. I noticed something in the pacing. The story moves from walking, the deeper you walk, the more your thoughts slow down, straight into finding the clearing.
Eventually, you find a clearing perfectly round.
Right. It feels efficient.
And efficiency is usually a good thing, in most writing. But for guided relaxation, efficiency isn't the main goal.
No, it isn't.
And while the story is intentionally slow, strengthening that moment of surrender before the final rest, that would maximize the sense of arrival for the listener.
So you're saying there's a missed beat? And the transition itself?
Yes, that's the weakness. The shift from movement, that feeling of walking here feels like floating, to the static resting place is, it's just too quick.
It kind of skips over the moment where you actually stop.
It completely skips the moment where the listener lets go of motion. We always talk about letting go of tension, but you have to let go of movement first. That conscious acceptance of stillness, of gravity, it's absolutely vital for deep relaxation.
It's like landing a plane. Even if you're coming in slow, you need to manage the touchdown carefully. You can't just hit the runway.
That's a great analogy.
I do wonder, though, if you insert a long pause, does that risk stalling things out? Could the listener's mind start racing in that gap?
That's a fair point, but the pause shouldn't be empty. It has to be rich with description. It should focus on the internal shift, not the lack of external movement.
Okay, so what's the suggestion?
The suggestion is to insert a specific descriptive pause right after that floating feeling, before you even mention the clearing. It lets the listener settle into the feeling of motionlessness. It validates their surrender before you give them the reward, which is the clearing.
So how do you make that pause feel dynamic? How do you make stopping feel like an event?
Well, after the line "walking here feels like floating," you could add a moment that focuses on the absence of effort. Describe the body slowing down, not because of a choice, but because the air itself is getting, I don't know, thick and supportive.
Oh, I like that.
You focus on the feeling of weightlessness fading away and gravity returning, but gently. Describe the feet sinking just a little into the moss.
So the environment is doing the stopping for you. That reinforces that sense of security we talked about earlier.
Exactly. You hold off on introducing the perfectly round clearing for just a sentence or two. You focus instead on the ambient sounds slowing down or the feeling of the body sinking deeper. And then the environment reveals the resting spot.
It makes finding the clearing feel like a reward for slowing down completely.
Yes, the clearing doesn't just exist. It becomes visible because the listener achieved total stillness. That enhances their sense of accomplishment even as they're relaxing.
You earned this rest by letting go.
It's the ultimate confirmation. The quiet of the forest brought you here.
All right, our third and final area of focus. This ties into the language itself, the hypnotic effect. And I have to say, the use of gentle, repetitive language is excellent.
It is.
You see soft, slow, gentle, flicker used again and again. It creates this wonderful lulling rhythm that's just essential for a sleep script.
The rhythm is fantastic, but we think the word choice could be refined, especially in those final crucial stages of relaxation. To prevent semantic satiation on those key words, diversifying the sensory appeal later on will ensure the descriptions keep landing with impact.
And semantic satiation is that thing where if you repeat a word too much, it just kind of loses its meaning?
It loses its meaning, yeah. It just becomes noise. The weakness here is that words like soft and slow are used a lot, across different senses. We have soft moss, a soft patch of grass, the softest melody, soft and slow sleep.
But wait, isn't that repetition part of the point? Isn't that what creates the hypnotic rhythm? Are we risking waking the listener up if we introduce too much variety?
That's a really critical question, and the distinction is this. Repetition of structure and cadence is great. Keep that. But repetition of the same high-impact sensory descriptors can actually be counterproductive. By the time the listener hears soft and slow sleep, those words might feel a little drained.
Okay, I see. So the lulling rhythm is good, but the words themselves need to stay potent.
They need to stay potent. The suggestion for improvement is to substitute some of those common comfort words with more varied specific language. Think textual, thermal, or kinesthetic. Find synonyms that hit a different part of the sensory register without adding any tension.
Let's get into some concrete examples.
Okay, so instead of the softest melody from the birds, let's give that sound a tactile quality. What if you described it as a melody woven from warm silk?
Woven from warm silk. Wow!
Silk is soft, obviously, but adding woven and warm engages tactile and thermal senses that the word softest just can't. It adds depth without adding tension.
It creates a much richer, almost luxurious experience for the ear. It confirms comfort with multiple senses at once. I like that a lot.
Right. We can also do it with the falling leaves. The line is slow, floating, lazy leaves drifting in circles. Lazy is the word I'd flag there.
Why?
It implies a slight bit of effort, or maybe hesitation. We want to get rid of any hint of effort when the listener's trying to shed it all.
Okay, good catch. So what's the alternative?
Change it to something that emphasizes pure weightlessness. For instance, leaves drifting in circles, light as smoke.
Light as smoke. Yeah, smoke is ethereal. It takes zero effort to float. That really reinforces the ease of the moment.
One more example, this one is kinesthetic, describing the earth breathing. The current wording is lovely. It says, the ground beneath you is warm. You feel it rise and fall gently, almost like the earth itself is breathing with you.
That's a beautiful image. It focuses on what the earth is doing.
It does, but we can shift the focus slightly to enhance the effect on the listener's body. We want to emphasize that feeling of being supported, of being held.
So instead of just observing the earth's action, you feel it more directly.
You feel it directly. We could change the end of that phrase to almost like the earth itself is cradling your weight.
Cradling your weight, that phrasing makes the grounding process feel so much more active and reassuring.
Exactly. It's an act of support, not just an observation.
I have to say, the author's intent here is just beautifully clear. To create this ancient, comforting presence and guide someone to rest. And all of these suggestions are really just aimed at maximizing the delivery of that unique premise.
It's about making the delivery as robust and unique as the core concept, which it deserves to be.
Okay, so to briefly recap the main actionable suggestions for the listener. First, weave that central concept, the forest's memory, more deeply into the descriptive elements all the way through the story.
Right. Turn passive description into personalized, responsive interaction. Pay off that unique promise over and over again.
Second, sharpen that transition, that moment of surrender just before the clearing is found. Insert a deliberate, descriptively rich pause to let the listener fully accept stillness before they get the reward of the resting spot.
And finally, vary the language of comfort. Substitute some of those repeated words like soft and slow with more diverse textural, thermal, or kinesthetic descriptors.
That'll maximize the hypnotic effect right when it's needed most, as the listener's drifting off, and it'll avoid that semantic satiation.
The quality of this piece is already so high. The author's intent is crystal clear. I think implementing these high-level refinements will just elevate this from a gentle, beautiful story into a deeply personal, hypnotic experience where that forest truly feels like it remembers you.
We are genuinely excited to see what you do with these suggestions. Please feel free to revise the piece and submit it back to us for a future critique. Thank you so much for sharing your work with the critique.